All right, so this is going to be a review of Morbius. It's the latest Spider-Man Beast movie, I guess you could say. Like a Spider-Man villain made by Sony in association with Marvel, like the Venom movies. I did not like those Venom movies. I think they're both trash. I've reviewed the first Venom movie twice, actually. I still don't like it. Um, so I didn't think I would like this one. And I was right. I really didn't like it. It actually made me wish I was watching those other two, including Venom 2, which I did a rant on last year. So yeah, but we'll get into all that. It's directed by Daniel Espinosa. Jared Leto plays Michael Morbius, and he's a doctor ever since he was, I guess, born. But at least you see him as a boy. Him and his friend Milo, the older version is played by Matt Smith. They have a disease that I guess affects their blood. I think I wasn't fully, I didn't fully understand it, but I think they need blood 3 times a day or something like that. They kind of get bullied and things, and they have trouble walking, things like that. And they're also dying from it, even though current day is like 25 years after that, after the part where they were little boys. So I don't know when they would die. I don't know, but they say they're dying from it, so they're trying to find a cure. And Milo is rich, and he's like helping Michael fund his research to do it. Michael starts actually experimenting on bats so that he can use some gland that they have inside of them to help them. Like I said, I wasn't fully understanding it, so so there's that. There's also Dr. Bancroft, played by Adria Arjona. She's the love interest, and eventually, when things go awry, the villain is going to go after her. So Michael has to keep her safe, as well as keep himself from actually going after living people and actually drinking human blood. He's got to take artificial blood, but that's not going to be able to satisfy him in his vampire body forever. So he's got to figure that out. Like I said, I didn't like this. I will say Matt Smith plays Milo. I liked him. He actually had a little bit of charisma, I guess, and he was kind of having fun with it. Um, the makeup for them, for the vampire stuff, is all right. Some of the action is kind of cool. There's this thing where there's like this kind of aura or whatever coming off their bodies, these little lines, and I thought that was an interesting touch. By the end, I was kind of over it though, because it does get kind of ridiculous. Where the punches are like sending off these like almost shock waves and things. It's cool at first. By the end, I was like, I'm kind of over it. But you do have that, and the performances I think are all pretty good. They're decent at least. Jared Leto gives a decent performance, even though the material's just not very good. But that's it. That's all I got for positives. I would say the main thing with this is that it feels like a fucking waste of time, just like Venom 2 did, and Venom as well. But this and Venom 2, there's so little story going on. I mean, you watch Venom and you're like, man, there's just nothing to this, huh? Man, and then Venom 2 comes in and it's like, hold my beer. There's nothing to this at all. It feels like it's rushing through development. You feel like you barely know any of these characters or really get invested in their relationships. Two major characters die back to back, like within minutes of each other, and you feel nothing. Milo, like I said, he's rich and he's funding Michael Morbius's research, and it's like, what is he rich from? Has he always been rich? I didn't remember that part at all when they were kids. There's also this ridiculous thing to show that Michael is smart, where he somehow fixes Milo's little machine because he's like dying or whatever, and he uses like a pin spring to fix it. And they're like, "Oh, you got gifts, Michael." Just ridiculous nonsense like this, like that. Just like in the Venom movies, the dialogue is absolutely abysmal. It's so bad. you know, him and Milo talking about, Michael maybe, getting into a little bit, romantic things with, the love interest in this movie, the other doctor. And he's like, if you start quoting the Notebook, I'm gonna slowly walk away, or something like that. It's just lame, like barely. took any time to really come up with it. Most of this feels really generic, and it feels like an older superhero movie, like people said about the Venom movies, because it's a studio that doesn't really care, and it's just throwing something together. It's almost like Sony is doing this out of obligation now, where it's like, well, we said we would do this shit, so we got to get it out there. I remember Morbius, Michael Morbius from the Spider-Man animated TV show, and I never thought he was all that interesting there either. I mean, he does like some kind of science experiment and turns into a vampire. A lot of Spider-Man's villains are, it's similar to the Lizard's origin, really, where they'll do some kind of experiment and they turn into some kind of animal-based thing or whatever, and they fight Spider-Man. There's not really much there, so they would really have to come up with something interesting or something new to really justify having an entire movie about them. Them as a villain could still be kind of not really working. So if you do the whole movie about them, it's like you really got to do something with this, and they're just not doing it. So why are you wasting people's time? It's just there's so many nonsensical things in this. The part from that's in the trailer where he says that he's Venom. In the trailer, he's like, "I'm just kidding, I'm Michael Morbius." In this, he's like, "I'm Venom," and he just lets the guy go. It's like, is he just gonna let that guy go around telling everybody he's Venom when Venom already exists? Because they make reference to San Francisco and all that earlier on in the movie. You got Tyrese and some other guy walking around as police officers. They're just there to look at crime scenes afterward. I mean, there was no need at all. We just really just threw this together. Nothing has any weight or any depth to it. The CG I didn't even say yet. Like I said, the makeup and stuff like that looks fine. But the faces, when it comes to like CG, like during the fight scenes, it's really bad. And then also there's this slow-mo with every fight scene, almost like they knew these fight scenes weren't all that great and weren't gonna really keep people interested. So it's like, let's just do a bunch of slow-mo then. It's like, well, there's no need for that. That actually made the fight scenes less cool, to be honest. Whenever he was kind of moving kind of fast and things like that, I thought that was all right. Um, there's a part where he ends up in jail, and it's like, he's like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to. What did he say? He's like, I'm not gonna be able to feed off artificial blood for long. I was like, bro, you're in jail. You have no, you have no access to anything. And then somebody ends up sneaking him blood into the jail. I was like, how the fuck did they get? How were they able to sneak that into the jail? There's so much of this. I'm like, man, y'all really just didn't try with this motherfucker. Like you see this only like an hour and 40 or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's actually, you think that'd be a good thing, like Venom 2. It's only an hour and a half. But and with today, like I gotta go work pretty soon, right? So I'm like, okay, I can get this done before work, but it actually is a detriment because the movie rushes through everything. Like I said, nothing is really developed in this thing. Nothing. Anyway, that's Morbius. It's bad, like everybody expected it to be. I'm gonna give it utter trash. Um, I guess I'm not as mad as I was with Venom 2, but at least with Venom 2, like you do have Eddie Brock and Venom kind of going back and forth, which got annoying, but at least it's somewhat amusing sometimes. There's very little to this, man. There's nothing. I didn't even talk about the end credit scene. I'm gonna spoil that because I spoiled it in Venom 2. I spoiled it in No Way Home, whatever. Um, the whatever you can call it, interdimensional or inter-universe thing happens, and if you remember from the trailer, I think it was the first trailer we saw of Michael Keaton. It's like, how is he here? So somehow he just ends up in some random jail cell, and they're talking about, oh, he just randomly popped up here, and we're gonna have a court case or something to see whether he'll most likely be released. And it's like, well, of course, if he came from another universe, you can't prove that he did what he did. I mean, you would have to even ask him what he did, and he could just lie. So, I mean, the implications of all this is like, why did you send Vulture from the MCU, from, Spider-Man Homecoming? Why did you send him into this universe? For what? What is he gonna do? I don't know. This is just, wow. I don't even know what Sony's doing at this point. Like, anyway, that's it. That's Morbius. I'm done. I gave it utter trash already, so that's it. Subscribe, like all that stuff, and we're done.